Hi, so today I'm going to be reading to you chapter 8 of the book Small as an Elephant. So go ahead and grab your book and turn it to page 64. Okay, read along with me. Chapter 8, page 64. Small as an Elephant. Even the elephant carries but a small trunk on his journeys. The perfection of traveling is to travel without baggage, by Henry David Thoreau. First stop in the supermarket was the bottle and can machine, where he made $1.90. Next stop, freezer section. Jack had to get some relief for his hand. Behind a glass door, he found the frozen peas, his mom's ice pack of choice, and plunged his hand deep inside mounds of crunchy bags. Fortunately, it was still fairly early, and most of the shoppers were more interested in coffee than frozen vegetables. He left his hand in as long as he could stand the cold, and then pulled it out. It helped, but he'd hardly made it to the frozen pizza before his pinky started throbbing again, so he slid it into another freezer case. This was how Jack moved up and down the aisle, clinging to frozen orange juice, wrapping his fingers around pints of ice cream. Even yogurt cups, which were not frozen but cool to the touch, provided relief. He considered spending his money on a bag of ice or even on some Advil, but knew that the ocean was close by and that he'd be able to give his finger a long soak if the pain didn't go away soon. Instead, he chose trail mix and a bottle of water. The two items had taken all but 20 cents of his money. Sure, there was a water fountain in the store, but he was once again really thirsty. He figured he could keep the bottle and fill it up in restrooms, making this very last time he would have to purchase a drink. As for the trail mix, he'd be careful this time, eating only small amounts as needed. Easier said than done, he thought as he devoured his first handful. Sitting on a sunny wooden bench, he'd found sandwiched between the shopping carts and a bike rack, right around the corner from the entrance of the store. He looked out at the parking lot and made himself eat one peanut, one cranberry, and one sunflower seed at a time. Only when he'd chewed what he had in his mouth completely did he allow himself to put his hand back in the bag. But his hunger was insatiable, and eating took his mind off his finger. "I'll find more bottles and cans," he told himself as he tilted the bag and poured the last remaining seeds into his mouth. Or better yet, "I'll find Mom." He hadn't asked anyone in the supermarket if they'd seen his mom. The store was much bigger than he'd imagined. Just like the island, asking seemed silly, futile. Instead, he'd searched for his mother the way he searched for information on anything at all back home. He'd find a computer, Google his mother's name, and see what came up. An article mentioning an accident. Say, he just needed to find the computer. The library, he suddenly thought. He could go to the library. He'd passed the night before. Infused with new energy, Jack backtracked in that direction, avoiding Roberts Avenue where he'd stolen the cans and bottles. Another thought struck him. He could leave a message for his mom online. He'd write it on UPage, tell her that he was in a Bar Harbor. Maybe he'd even set a time and place to meet. And it was such an obvious solution to the no cell phone problem. Why hadn't he thought of it before? Sure, she was probably a little crazed at the moment and might not have access to a computer. But who knew? Once, when she and Jack were coming from the in-town inn, his mom had stopped at the library and rushed to the computers, where she researched everything she could find about grapefruit. At that time, her obsession was kind of embarrassing. She'd kept yelling out a little unknown facts. "Jackie, did you know that a grapefruit is a cross between an orange and a pomelo? Have you ever eaten a pomelo?" But today, the memory was a happy one. I hope he could hold on to. By now, he was practically running, but the sight of the library up ahead took all the air out of him, like a sucker punch. It was closed. Of course, it was Labor Day. All libraries close on Labor Day. How could he have been so stupid? Gotten his hopes up like that, he threw his backpack on the ground, then picked it up and threw it down again and again. It's Labor Day, he shouted, as if his mom was right there and could hear him. Labor Day meant not only that all the libraries were closed, but also that his vacation, even if it hadn't officially started, was almost officially over. Tomorrow was supposed to be his first day back at Curly Middle School. His mom had promised they would stop on the way home and buy the supplies he needed. New sneakers, binders, maybe even one of those electronic spell checkers. No problem, she had said. Everything would be cheaper in Maine. This time he threw his backpack at a tree, but the strap caught on his pinky finger. The pain was excruciating. Excruciating. Oh. He sat down on the grass and held his hand against his belly. He hated to accept it, but his pinky was probably broken. He had broken a toe once, banged it at the swimming pool near his best friend, Nina. His best friend, Nina, lived. As he hobbled to the doctor's office, Jack's mom had told him elephant jokes. Who does an elephant call when he breaks his toe? Who? The tow truck. That joke was so bad, Mom had probably made it up. Jack closed his eyes and pictured a herd of elephants on a savanna, walking in a long line or playing at a water hole. Why hadn't he been born an elephant? He pictured himself playing with the other elephants, spraying them with water from his trunk. But he wasn't an elephant, and he was not going to find his mother by laying on the lawn at the Jessup Memorial Library. Dragging himself back to the town center, Jack recalled that Bar Harbor had lots of types of shops and restaurants his mother would like, which again made him hopeful. It would be like her to get waylaid in a place that had so many unusual things to see. Tourmaline jewels, hand-painted sea chests, blueberry syrup. He might just walk into a shop and see her there. Jack knew that it wasn't supposed to be this way, that a mother wasn't supposed to go off without telling her kid, and that her kid wasn't supposed to be able to walk into a store and find her there coincidentally. He wished that things were different, that he could be the one hanging out in a store and that his mom would be the one to pop in and say, "What are you doing in here, Jack? I've been looking all over for you." Once, Nina had asked him why he was alone so much, and he had tried to tell her about his mom's pinwheel times, how sometimes the air felt so still to her, like there wasn't any oxygen or breezes to be found. These times made his mom so prickly. She could hardly sit still, and she grabbed a lot. So sometimes she stayed away because she didn't think it was fair that she was being mean. But then the wind would come, the air would be light, and she could well float. And even though the world looked the same to him, his mom said she could see things, magical things. Lit pathways in the sky, a spider web that connected all living things. "You are connected to the elephants, Jack," she'd say. Once during a spinning time, she'd brought home every single flavor of ice cream that the store had, and they'd done a taste test. Ben and Jerry's Chunky Monkey was the best. Another time, she kept asking him, "What is the rarest color?" Jack had done a Google search, but he could only find answers to questions like, "What is the rarest eye color?" Green, and "What is the rarest color of geckos?" No one agrees. So he and his mother went to Office Max, where there would be lots and lots of little items, and began tallying the numbers of times they saw each color. The non-colors black, white, and gray were everywhere. Fuchsia and lime green were kind of rare, but the rarest of all was brownish purple his mother named Sunken Treasure. From then on, they had searched for objects that were this rare color, more red than blue, more brown than red. It was weird. Once he knew this color existed, he yearned for it, and he felt stupidly happy when he saw it somewhere in the bark of a tree or in a picture in his social studies book. One day, he'd come home from school and there was a bill from a foreign country sitting on his bed. He couldn't remember where the bill was from, but he knew that the country wasn't the part that mattered. It was the color. The bill was Sunken Treasure. Only one person in the whole world would know that. But Nina had said, why did she just leave the money on your bed? Why didn't she give it to you herself? Why does she have to stay away from the apartment so much? And because she didn't understand, Jack didn't tell her anymore. So that's the end of chapter 8. Small as an elephant. See you on the next chapter. Bye.